Have you ever wondered if the billionaires running our world might be doing more harm than good? It's easy to admire the wealth and success of people like Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, and Mark Zuckerberg, but could their vast fortunes be a sign of something more dangerous? In this video, we'll explore the controversial question: are billionaires destroying the world? The wealth gap, a growing divide. Let's start by looking at the wealth gap. It's no secret that the richest 1% of the global population holds a disproportionate share of wealth. But here's the kicker. According to a report by Oxfam, the world's 2,153 billionaires control more wealth than 4.6 billion people combined. That's roughly 60% of the entire global population. This isn't just a statistic to glance at. The ramifications are immense. When such a small group controls so much wealth, it concentrates economic power in their hands, allowing them to shape global markets, policies, and industries in ways that benefit them, often at the expense of everyone else. But how did this happen? Many billionaires accumulate wealth not just through hard work or innovation, but through a system that prioritizes profits over people. Tax loopholes, monopolistic practices, and global financial networks allow these individuals to shield their fortunes and avoid paying their fair share. This isn't just an issue of inequality, it's an issue of power. Environmental impact, the true cost of their actions. Now let's talk about the environment. Billionaires like to portray themselves as forward-thinking pioneers, with many investing in green technology or donating to environmental causes. But how much of this is greenwashing? For example, Jeff Bezos announced a $10 billion donation to fight climate change. That sounds fantastic, until you realize that Amazon's carbon footprint in 2020 alone was over 60 million metric tons. This level of pollution is more than what entire countries produce. The contradiction is clear. Billionaires are often both the cause of and the supposed solution to the problems they create. Additionally, space exploration, a passion for billionaires like Elon Musk and Bezos, may seem like the next great frontier, but its environmental impact is largely overlooked. A single rocket launch releases massive amounts of carbon into the atmosphere, contributing to global warming. It's a classic case of wanting to solve a problem while simultaneously making it worse. The issue goes beyond the carbon footprint. The environmental degradation caused by extractive industries, like mining for rare earth metals used in tech gadgets, often benefits billionaires while devastating local ecosystems and communities. The demand for rare earth minerals, necessary for electric cars, phones, and other tech, is skyrocketing, and yet it is the poorest regions that suffer environmental consequences. Billionaires may benefit from these industries, but who pays the price? The planet and its most vulnerable people. The political influence of billionaires. The power that billionaires wield extends beyond business. Their influence infiltrates politics, shaping policies that often benefit them at the expense of the general public. In the US, this is glaringly evident. The Supreme Court's 2010 decision in Citizens United v. FEC opened the floodgates for unlimited political contributions from corporations and the wealthy. Billionaires like the Koch brothers and George Soros have poured millions into political campaigns and super PACs to ensure that their preferred candidates and policies come to fruition. This level of political influence raises a critical question: can democracy truly thrive when a small group holds such sway over elections? Consider this. A Princeton University study found that policy outcomes in the US are more strongly correlated with the preferences of the wealthy than those of the average voter. In essence, money talks, and billionaires have the loudest voices. In other countries, the story isn't much different. Russian oligarchs, Chinese tech moguls, and oil barons from the Middle East all wield significant influence over their governments. These billionaires aren't just creating wealth, they're molding the world's political systems to suit their needs, often at the expense of democracy and the public good. Exploitation of labor. Who pays the real price? While billionaires are raking in profits, their employees often face exploitation. The rise of the gig economy, dominated by companies like Uber and DoorDash, has created a workforce of contractors who lack basic worker protections. Low wages, lack of healthcare, and minimal job security define the lives of millions of people who work to sustain the profits of these billionaires. Take Amazon, for example. Jeff Bezos became the richest person in the world largely on the backs of Amazon warehouse workers, who have been subjected to grueling work conditions, surveillance, and minimal pay. Despite Bezos's massive wealth, Amazon workers have repeatedly reported being unable to take bathroom breaks and working in physically exhausting environments. The harsh reality is that while billionaires may claim they're creating jobs, the quality of these jobs is often poor, and the profits are disproportionately funneled to the top. According to a report from the Economic Policy Institute, CEO compensation has grown 940% since 1978, while the wages of the average worker have increased by only 12% in the same time period. The imbalance is staggering, and it's one of the reasons why so many people are questioning the very existence of billionaires. Charitable giving, philanthropy or PR. Many billionaires engage in philanthropy, donating large sums to charitable causes. The Gates Foundation, for instance, is one of the largest charitable organizations in the world. But there's a darker side to billionaire philanthropy that often goes unnoticed. In many cases, these donations act as a form of tax avoidance, allowing billionaires to shield their fortunes while maintaining control over how the money is spent. For example, when billionaires donate to their own charitable foundations, they often receive large tax breaks. These donations rarely lead to systemic change because the underlying structures that perpetuate inequality remain untouched. Moreover, philanthropy often serves as a convenient distraction from the more damaging aspects of a billionaire's business practices. Critics argue that instead of relying on the goodwill of the super-rich, we should be focusing on stronger taxation and better regulation to address the root causes of inequality. After all, can a billionaire's charitable donations really compensate for the damage done by tax avoidance, environmental degradation, and exploitative labor practices? The housing crisis, billionaires and the real estate market. One of the most pressing issues in the world today is the housing crisis. And yes, billionaires play a significant role in exacerbating it. As global real estate becomes a prime investment for the wealthy, regular people are being priced out of their homes. In cities like New York, London, and San Francisco, luxury properties are often bought as investments, left empty, while housing prices soar. According to a 2020 report from the National Low-Income Housing Coalition, there is no state in the US where a minimum wage worker can afford a two-bedroom apartment at market rent. This disparity between wages and housing costs is partly driven by billionaires and investment firms snapping up properties, driving prices higher and making home ownership unattainable for many. It's not just individuals being affected. Entire communities are being displaced. Gentrification, fueled by real estate speculation, forces longtime residents out of their neighborhoods as property values skyrocket and rents become unaffordable. Once again, the profits flow upwards, leaving the most vulnerable to pay the price. The global supply chain, billionaire control and human costs. Billionaires don't just control wealth and politics, they also dominate the global supply chain. Major industries like electronics, fashion, and food are often controlled by a few key players, many of whom are billionaires. The consolidation of these industries leads to monopolistic practices, reduced competition, and higher prices for consumers. But there's a hidden human cost. Many products we use daily, smartphones, clothing, and even food, are produced in sweatshops or under exploitative conditions in developing countries. Workers in these countries often toil in dangerous environments for poverty wages. Also, billionaires can maximize profits. The fashion industry is a prime example. Fast fashion brands like Zara and H&M, owned by billionaires, rely on cheap labor in countries like Bangladesh and Vietnam. Workers are paid a fraction of what it costs to live, while the companies reap enormous profits. The Rana Plaza factory collapse in 2013, which killed over 1,100 workers, brought global attention to the dangerous conditions in these factories, but little has changed since then. Billionaires continue to benefit from this system, while workers suffer. A different perspective: can billionaires help save the world? Now, we must also ask, could billionaires actually be part of the solution? Some argue that billionaires, with their vast resources and influence, are in a unique position to solve the world's most pressing issues. Elon Musk, for instance, has set ambitious goals for humanity, such as colonizing Mars and revolutionizing renewable energy through Tesla. Bill Gates, too, has poured billions into global health initiatives, helping to eradicate diseases like polio and combat malaria. His foundation's efforts have saved millions of lives. But here's the twist: While billionaires like Musk and Gates may be making positive changes, the underlying system that allows such wealth accumulation is still problematic. Are billionaires tackling the root of the problem, or are they simply offering band-aid solutions to systemic issues? For every effort to save the environment or cure diseases, there's an equally damaging practice that fuels their wealth. The question remains, should we rely on billionaires to save the world, or should we focus on changing the system that enables such massive wealth inequality in the first place? The cost of concentrated wealth. So, are billionaires destroying the world? The answer isn't as simple as a yes or no. Billionaires have undeniably shaped the modern world, creating new technologies, industries, and philanthropic initiatives. But they've also contributed to some of the most pressing global issues we face today, including economic inequality, environmental degradation, and political corruption. The concentration of wealth in the hands of a few not only affects the lives of billions of people but also threatens the very foundations of democracy, sustainability, and fairness. Perhaps the real question isn't whether billionaires are destroying the world, but rather, can we afford to let them continue shaping it without greater accountability? As we continue to grapple with these questions, one thing is clear: the role of billionaires in shaping the future of our world cannot be ignored. Whether they're building rockets, monopolizing industries, or donating to charities, their influence is undeniable, and so are the consequences. It's up to us to decide what kind of future we want, one controlled by a few or one where the power is more evenly distributed. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the most controversial topics shaping our world today.